It's conservative.
If you're looking for something liberal
and realistic, this is the place to be.
Hello, and welcome to the Yet to Be Named podcast. On this podcast, we talk about different issues that are affecting the youth, that are affecting adults, that are affecting children. In the recent episodes, we have spoken about Africanness and Christianity. We have also spoken about mental health. And we're going to be delving more into issues that affect us on a daily basis. And today we want to talk about why it's important for a man to marry. And to join us on set today, we have four lovely gentlemen, including myself. We have Greg on my far right, then Receive, and Kuda. So if you're looking for something conservative, something real, something practical, this is the place to be. And tune in. Let's talk about why it's important for us as men to get married. So we're going to start by talking about what marriage is in our context as Zimbabweans. Then we talk about biblical references. Then why we are struggling as gentlemen, as young people, to get married. And then we obviously get a conclusion on the importance of getting married. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, and I'm sure we're going to have a great time talking about why we are struggling to marry. I just have a query though. Am I the only one who's cold? I'm seeing everyone doesn't have a jersey. Am I sick or something?
No, it's okay. You're actually doing great.
Okay. Yeah, because the weather outside is quite nippy for me, but I see everyone else is looking all macho. But well, it is what it is. So we clearly, is it, as far as I'm concerned, no one here is married, right?
Yes.
So we need to address that. We need to address why we are not getting married, or what's taking time. Or maybe we're not taking time. Maybe we're in the right track. Maybe we're not yet old enough to get married, right? Let's talk about that. Greg, maybe give us a brief introduction of what marriage is.
Well, before I get into the brief introduction, I, as an individual, I have a strong opinion that marriage is of necessity. Okay. That we should be married. Mm-hmm. Every young man should be married. Mm-hmm. Every young lady should be married. Mm-hmm. And getting to our subject for today, mm-hmm. Marriage, from a biblical point of view, we are told that it is the union between a young man and a young woman who will come together to become one and start a life and start a family.
A man shall leave his
yes.
home, and a lady shall leave her home as well.
Her home, yes.
And they become one flesh, right? Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think so too. Marriage is just an institution that was established by God. Mm-hmm. So we are fulfilling a plan that was put through by God so that we can have families and fulfill our human needs.
And be fruitful and multiply. Receive, talk to me about Bible references of men who are married. I mean, you guys can help each other there on biblical references.
Okay, we can first start off with Adam. Okay. He is the first man to be married. And when we are talking about marriage, God actually saw it fit that it was not good for a man to be alone. Mm-hmm. And when he created everything, Adam, as he was seeing the animals, all of them, they were two. And for him, he was alone. Mm-hmm. So he saw that marriage was important for him. And from Adam, we move to people like Jacob. We have people such as Isaac. And we have people such as Joseph, a lot of people in the Bible who are married. And I'm sure as we are going to deal more in this topic, mm-hmm. we're going to discuss more, especially on the importance of marriage as we look at from Jacob's marriage.
Interesting. Yes. Correct.
Yes, so just to pick up from what Kuda had highlighted, we have two institutions that are mentioned in the book of Genesis that were given by God. The first one is the institution of the Sabbath, and the second one is the institution of marriage.
Okay.
And from Genesis, we find Adam and Eve, right, being our first parents. You'll find that some actually believe that God created other people out there.
Really?
Yeah, there's so many theories, crazy theories out there. But the Bible actually tells us that God only created Adam and Eve, and from those two, that's where everyone came. And we see them fulfilling one of the requirements, that one of the things that God told us in the book of Genesis chapter 1, I believe it should be verse 27, where he says, be fruitful and multiply. And the multiplication that's being mentioned there is just not only limited to having earthly resources, material things, houses and all that, that people nowadays we tend to focus on, but also the part of procreation.
Okay.
So when you look at it from the Bible, we are told that Christians, right, we are in this world, but we are not of this world.
Of this world.
And you find that those that do not share the same faith as us, we now see in their communities, be it those that are atheists, those that do not align their beliefs to the Bible, they tend to shift from the biblical marriage institution.
Okay.
Whereby we are now having things like bestiality, men and animals getting officially married in places that we consider holy.
So in other words, you are saying that there are a lot of definitions of marriage, right? Where people have changed the whole meaning of marriage. That's what you're saying.
Yes, they are challenging. Actually, I believe that this is the work of the devil. Whereby the institution, which is supposed to be there to support, because the institution of marriage works hand in hand with the family structure. So when you attack the institution of marriage, you are affecting the family. Because if in a house there's no longer the father who was supposed to be there to guide us as young men, to tell us, my child, now you're of age, you need to consider a woman of such a character. You need, if it's a lady, you now need to consider, if you're going to be meet someone, you need someone of such a character. But when it's now a family whereby there's a wife being married by another lady, instead of Adam and Eve, we are having Adam and Steve. You see.
Okay, so we are agreeing, right? Yes. We are agreeing that a man, yes, right? A man in his stature, gender, and a female and a woman will leave their parents' home and come together. Yes. So first and foremost, marriage is of a man and a woman. Right.
Perfect. Yes.
Yes. So I think we're on the same page. Yeah. Maybe tell me about. You mentioned who?
mentioned Jacob.
Jacob. Yeah. Let's talk about Jacob. What happened with him?
Jacob is a very interesting character because we see a guy who was very, very determined to get the woman that he wants. And we can actually have an objective lesson that we can glean from that.
Okay.
Because we are encouraged from the story of Jacob to be people who are determined, who work with their own hands. Nowadays, some of us as young people, we want things easier. The microwave kind of generation where we want things being done faster. You go to dad or you go to your brothers. Can you assist me with finances so that I can get to marry the person I want? But we find Jacob being an individual who go away because he was running away from what he had done to his brother, right? I think we all know the story about the birthright. And we find he toils, he labors for 7 years, first 7 years, after he'd been tricked. Instead of getting the woman that he really wanted, he gets to be given Leah. And he has to work for 7 more years. Actually, before we look at Jacob, there is Isaac.
Okay.
And from
maybe hold on before you get to Isaac. Right. He mentioned 2 things that I want us to discuss. He mentioned something called, he said he was tricked. Okay. And then he also spoke about how parents should chip in, right? What's your take on that? Do parents take a role on marriage as a gentleman or even as a lady? Do parents have an impact, or you have it's your full decision to get married?
Yeah, I think it is your decision to get married, but the parents can help in like on the financial side. Maybe they see that you are really determined to get this lady, but you don't have the money to get the lady. So maybe I think way back they used to do that when someone wants to get married. When you want to get married, you talk to your dad. Dad, this is how much money that I have now. So I have 4,000. Maybe you were charged 8,000. Maybe your dad can give you the other half.
Are you agreeing with that?
Yeah, I do agree with that because even if we look into our Zimbabwean culture, when people used to get married in the past, you see the parents had a role to play. They especially the ladies' parents, they would see the character of the man and they would determine if the man is worthy enough to marry their daughter. So I'm sure for Laban, he saw how Jacob was determined. He was a hard-working man, and he knew that his daughters were going to be safe. I'm sure that's why he took that risk of actually marrying his daughter Leah to him. He knew the integrity of that man. So yeah, I'm sure parents, they have got a role to play.
Okay, but he mentioned something about Jacob getting tricked. Can we say that's the correct position? Because I feel like Jacob should have known, because according to my research, it was the custom of 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 um, then of that time that the older one gets married first. So I feel like maybe he wasn't tricked, but he didn't do his research into the family he was getting married to. Okay, so whilst a man and a woman should leave the home, we also need to remember that from what he said, effort. You need to put effort to be able to afford a wife, right? To get married, and also you need to research into the family that you're getting married to.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly.
You need to know what you're getting. If you're gonna get married to an Indian lady, you need to know what is their culture, so you won't get tricked, right? Yeah.
So we'll get to that saying that says Tana Zono Shikira, is it?
Okay. Tena Zoroshikira. Let's talk about that.
Can I just comment on something that Kuda had highlighted? Kuda brought up a very, very interesting point where he was talking about how the guy Jacob, right? He goes to the family. He's laboring, and he had mentioned to say that the father can come in and help the family, being there as a support system. My point is, I'm partial about the idea of having the family as giving you the full backup, where they actually provide you the finances, the cars, and everything, the whole nine. They are supporting you with everything. The challenge comes in where they tend to become a little bit manipulative later in the marriage, where now you want to say something, but the wife knows that it wasn't you totally financing the whole marriage. You know that the father was involved. Even the family that you're marrying into, they know that the father was involved. So us as young men, it's something that we need to also to take to heart, that if you're going to make a decision to say that you're going to marry I don't know, any individual we are going to be marrying, we are supposed to be ready, have our things in place. But there are situations where it's necessary to consult and say, hey guys, my resources are kwana. And in Shona, we also have this word expression where we say kutema ugari, which is what Jacob did, where he was actually staying with the family and he's working whilst
he's paying
exactly
Lobola.
Yes.
So fine, we've got one example, right? This guy Jacob, he put in effort and he worked, right? So I'm drawing the lesson that as youth we also need to work for us to afford marriage. But let's look at the guy who went with camels. Yeah, that's Isaac, right?
Oh yeah,
That
Isaac.
guy was rich, man.
He was rich because if you try to look at the value of the camel,
Yeah.
it's around 5 to 20,000. So he
Okay.
went with 10 camels.
10 camels.
So that's around $50,000 of lobola currently right now.
Interesting.
But can we say the camels were his because his father is the one who sent the servant to go and marry?
Fine. So
Yeah.
here we've got two scenarios.
Yes.
Where the guy is working for himself.
All right.
14 years, right?
Yes.
Then we also have a second scenario where you come from a
wealthy family.
Yeah, wealthy family, and your parents can actually come in and chip in and assist.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so that was the support system that we
support
were
system.
talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe you are not able to do it on your own, but we are not saying like 100% it should be done for you. You must show that you really want your wife, because this is your wife who's going to be like the woman who's going to bring out your generation. So it's something that you have to work on your own for.
How easy is it to accept the girl that your father says is the one you should marry?
Yeah, I actually wanted to comment on that. You see, back then, it was very, very interesting when you read the Bible,
Yeah.
particularly the account that we get from the Bible. It was always interesting how these marriages would come up. In the case of Isaac and also Jacob, they were a community, a people who were leaning towards the aspect that in Shona we say Rorana we matongo.
They knew each other. It was
That's what we find in the Bible, the account that we find where we have Abraham is sending his servant, right? And he's saying that it was Eliezer, right?
Yes.
And he's
Yes.
sending his servant and saying that I want you to get a wife for my son from people he knew about.
Yeah.
And he wants the son to get someone who's coming from a background or a place where he knows that this person will be who's properly cultured, who shares the same values. You see, this is equal yoking that you are talking about. So we don't have, in the future, we know that the son is not going to have challenges to say he got into a marriage whereby he's being unequally yoked to someone. And you know the challenges that come with unequal yoking where there are different beliefs, different, in our present time, we're now talking of different lifestyles and all that.
So that's where we mentioned how you need to actually know the family you're getting married into.
Oh yeah, because this generation have got a tendency of quickening the process. You know, you sleep in your room, you go on Instagram, you message someone, the next month you're getting married. Do you actually think that you really know that person?
Yeah, social media is another aspect that is affecting our relations as people. I mean, we've got so many dating apps, and people
Tinder.
People are finding their life partners. Fine, we can't exactly say that they're bad. We also can't exactly say they're not good. They're not good or they're bad. They're either bad or good. But I guess there's an element where we need to go back to the origins. Okay.
Yes.
So let's agree. Marriage is when a man leaves his family and a woman leaves their family and they become one flesh, right? Let's talk about the actual process. Yeah, the actual process from different cultures, and then also in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Different cultures, and then,
Okay, I'll look at the biblical perspective. You must have work.
Okay.
Like when Adam was given the garden was his workplace, that was his home. So you must have something that you are doing. You can't just walk up and say, I want to get married. What do you have?
What do you have to show?
What do you have to show? If the woman comes into your life, what value is he going to add on what you have already?
And
so you
help
must,
meet.
yes.
Yeah.
The wife is a helper, not a producer. So the husband must be a producer so that the wife can come and help.
I like that. So men, let's work. That's what we're saying, right?
Yes.
We have to work.
Exactly.
That's true.
We can't be. I mean, fine. The context has changed, but we must work, right? We're agreeing on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Go on.
Okay, so I was saying you must have work.
Yeah.
So that when the wife comes in, she's adding value to
To vision
a vision already.
that you have set.
I'm not saying a job, but work.
Work.
If you're
What's the
employed,
difference?
okay, work is something that you can do on your own, right? Even without any supervision whatsoever.
Okay.
It's something that actually I believe God gives you something to do so that you can earn a living from. That's work.
More like a calling.
Yes, a job is somewhere that you go every day, like 8 to 5.
Okay.
Thing, So
Okay.
Adam made work. He was working in the garden,
Okay.
and that is where he was living.
Okay. And receive what is the actual process like? I'm talking in terms of when you say you want to marry, do you go direct to the parents and say, I've got your daughter? Did you see the small clip about a white man who says, I want to marry and I've brought kettles?
Yeah.
And they brought like a proper tea kettle, and he brought 50 of them. He said,
Yeah, the South African one. Yeah, I remember.
yeah. Well, what's the process?
All right. This process is different from one culture to another.
Okay.
Looking at South Africa, it's more like similar to ours as Zimbabweans. The man goes to the wife's place, wives to be, in fact, and pays something.
The family.
Yeah. So looking at Zimbabwe as well, we do that with the men. The process is he first gets a munyai, someone who is like an advocate for him.
A go-between.
Yeah. Who has to stand between him and the family that he wants to get married into. And the munya is the one who is responsible for all the negotiations that have to happen between the two families that needs to start.
Okay. All right. And then what happens from there? When he goes, I want us to get to talk about the symbolism of building the relationship, where you actually, whether it's 10,000, whether it's 40,000, whether it's 5,000, right? I want us to get to that.
All right. Maybe let me continue. The munyai now. The munyai is the one who goes to the family, and when he reaches there, he introduces his purpose.
Okay.
Why he gets there to the family.
Tragasanz.
Yes, exactly. And when you look at this tradition, when it was done in the past, where people were married in the villages, you will find that the munyai sometimes will get to be attacked before he reaches the family.
Serious?
Yeah. Until when they actually accept him, then he can actually come in. And when he comes into the family, he introduces his purpose, why he is there. He talks. He tells them that there is a girl that he saw in the family.
In the family, okay.
And then they ask which girl, and then they are told which girl it is. Then the negotiations start from there. We have the introduction. They have different types of payments that they do. I'm sure that's where you want us to discuss.
Maybe that's another discussion on its own, the actual details. But let's talk about the symbolism of sealing or creating a relationship. What was it from the onset? What would you give to the girl's parents?
Long back, actually, the payment usually came in the form of a whore. Badza.
Okay.
Yes. The whole process, it was trying to create a relationship between the two families. That's the symbolism of it. It's trying to create a mix in the two families, different families. There is Kuda, and Kuda mixes with another girl's family. That's the symbol of all that process. The Rora process is there to form a family.
So we are agreeing that Rora must be paid, and it's a way to build and create a relationship between your family as a guy and the lady's family. Yeah.
I only have a problem with the way you mentioned about the Badza thing.
Okay.
If you look at the value, the value of Rebadza, that time, kwakune vainzi goldsmith there.
Okay.
And it's ironsmith there, no minor gold.
All right.
And iron. Those were like precious material.
Okay.
Yes.
So we are saying that you had to sacrifice something that was of value
All right. Okay.
to the family that you want to marry into.
Do you have an idea of how much this badza was worth?
Not like in actual value, but of course this was like pure iron,
Okay.
not
And
mixed
iron
with anything.
obviously was valuable back
Yes,
then.
it was very
Yes, it was
valuable.
very, very
Yes.
valuable.
Some they could actually exchange cattle with iron,
Oh, really?
maybe 3 cattle for one whole. So meaning, for example, these days maybe a cow can go for about $350 to $500.
yeah.
So which means maybe you paid 1.5. So
What
that
was
was
that?
actually expensive.
Okay.
Can I comment on that? So, as you're looking at the aspect of the token of appreciation that is being
Your wife to be.
yes, that is being given to the other family from the groom's family. When you look at it, trying to see what the world is doing, like other cultures, be it in the UK, in the Americas, and those countries where most of them it's not really being liberal, but most that are not Christian oriented, that do not have a Christian foundation, or rather that do not have, because what I've come to understand is the three Abrahamic religions, that is Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Those are the three religions that tend to share this idea of giving something that's a token of appreciation.
Okay.
So you find that out of that circle, the marriages that are done, sometimes it's not even official in the court. You find someone just moves in, they're now staying with you in an apartment, and you're now a thing. Now the challenge,
Cohabiting.
thank you. So the challenge with cohabiting is you get to find that it's easy for someone to just say, today you have it's natural. The devil is fighting us. It's natural that we people come to have situations where they do not agree. But a small, tiny bit of misunderstanding. Someone saying, I'm packing my bags, I'm going.
Okay.
So it's of great importance that we respect what the Bible is encouraging us to do, to pay.
As a way of creating a
Yes,
relationship.
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, if you always get food for free, you don't appreciate it, right?
You don't appreciate
You
it.
will never.
Yes.
Yeah. So the same way when you buy your first car, right? I'm sure it's one of the things that we look forward to as young people. Buying your first car, whether it's second hand or not, but the fact that you put $1,500 to buy your
Aside,
first, and you say it maybe a few months, you know, it's even, you are even cautious of who is going to get into your car.
That's
right?
very true. That's very true.
You appreciate that's the effort that you put in. So I think it's good for us as young people also to go and get married the right way.
Okay.
You send something.
Okay.
All right. Let's talk about why we are not getting married. Is anyone here married? No, we're not
No,
yet.
not yet.
What's going on, gents? Guys, what's going on? What's going on? What's stopping us from getting married?
All right. According to the Bible, it says that a good wife comes from the Lord.
Comes from the Lord, and he who finds a good thing.
And he who finds a wife
A wife is
finds a good thing.
A good thing. Yeah.
So a wife is a good thing. That's number one.
Okay.
Then number two, you have to wait on the Lord so that He shows you. I mean, you as an individual, you must have a set of things or that you look at if you want to get someone to marry.
Deal breakers.
Yes.
Deal breakers,
So there
okay.
are some things that you say, I can tolerate this, but this, no, I can't.
Okay.
So whilst you are there, the Lord doesn't come down here to look for a wife and gives you a wife, but you have to find a wife for yourself. So there are things that you look at.
So you're saying you will have a checklist of what
Definitely.
you want in a woman,
Definitely.
in a wife. So you until all those are found in one person,
Yes.
the 40 of them.
Yeah.
That's
Something
when
like
we will
that.
get married. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Receive.
Actually, I just wanted to ask him a question. So is he saying that one of the reasons why the young people are not married is because they haven't found the right person with the right qualities that he's talking about?
Good question. Good question. Yeah.
That's a good question, actually. if you look back then between Adam and Eve in the Bible, Adam was put in a deep sleep, right?
All right.
And then God removed a rib from him and then formed Eve. When you woke up,
She was there.
she was there. Then Adam said, "This is
Bone of
the
my
rib,
He didn't even have to pay.
bone of
Like
my
a guy,
bone."
huh?
Right? Meaning, he actually knew that this person is part of me. You can't separate this person and me. We are one.
All right.
So you have to find that person who is compatible
Okay.
with you.
All right.
So that you can get married. You just can't get married to anyone.
So we need to ask, seek, and pray, and ask the Lord to give us that
Yes.
bone of your bone, flesh of your flesh.
Yes.
So apasat pa ne bone of my
Compatibility.
bone. Yeah, compatibility.
Well, for me, it's not necessarily about bones not existing, ribs not existing. I mean, God is. If you look at our generation, God is doing amazing stuff.
Okay, I
like
do
the
agree
people
with
that
that.
are being born, the AMA 2000s we have nowadays. Hey, guys. I don't think you understand.
In terms of beauty, in terms of that's covered already.
In terms of beauty, yes, beauty is one of the prerequisites. I mean, but for me, looking at what the scripture has been, what I've also gleaned from the scriptures, we tend to rush. And the first prerequisite that I have sort of 7 checklists that I look at. The first one is, am I ready? I once shared this somewhere. Am I ready? Because it's not always about me being a man and saying now that I'm 27, so I'm supposed to be married. My uncle got married at 21. So when he looks at me, back then it was easy. With his attachment money, he was able to pay for his younger brothers to go to college and all that. But for me right now, just finances, if I'm to look at my current peers, it's a challenge for them to raise enough money to take care of the rest of the family. I might be in a state where I can finance, but the question is, am I ready? That's the first one.
Okay. Before you continue, we are actually going to talk about how to manage our finances in the future, and I think it's going to benefit all of us. Yeah.
Okay.
That's great. So the first prerequisite is, am I ready for marriage?
Yeah.
The second prerequisite is, actually I inverse them. The first prerequisite is God calling me for marriage. Because when you look at it from what the Bible says in the book of Corinthians, how Paul talks about for some men, it's actually good for them to stay single. Because it's not a must, it's not an obligation that every man should be married. But it's somehow society has socially conditioned us to think. God actually encourages that it's a man should what? Should find someone that they get to marry. But not all of us are going to marry.
Look, bro, I respect your opinion.
Yes.
I love the fact that some are destined to be married and some are destined to be single.
I have a comment on that.
I am not going to be one of those. Yes.
I have a comment on that. When you pray the Lord's Prayer, God says, "Let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven."
Yeah.
We are actually fulfilling God's will. And then there's a text in Timothy by getting married.
Okay.
And then there's a text in Timothy that says, in the last days, people, they are going to be forbidding marriage. Like they won't accept marriage. So be careful, you might be fulfilling prophecy.
Well, okay. Let me just add a little bit of context.
No, wait. Let's go back to why we are struggling to get married on the ground. Let's stick to that. Why? What's going on? Is it the money? Is it the effort? Like Jacob, are we not putting enough effort? Are we not mentally ready? What? Let's talk about that.
All right. I have 2 points. The first one goes to what he's saying. A lot of people don't want to marry.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons they don't want to marry, I think, is because they are already enjoying the benefits of marriage.
You are getting the
Outside
milk,
of marriage.
so no point of buying the cow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why should you go and marry when you're already enjoying the benefits of marriage? You're already getting it on the regular. So why should you?
So that's speaking more to, we need to go back to the principles of God.
Yes.
And be actual Christians and wait for marriage to enjoy the benefits
Exactly.
of marriage. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Then the second point that I have is that I think many people are in the comfort zone.
Okay.
Because we tend, it was, long back, it was weird for someone to be in the silver club. Like in our church, to be said this one is in the silver. A lot of people didn't want to be associated with that club.
What age does it start from?
It starts from 25 years going upwards. But nowadays, people are comfortable because the club has grown so big and they do a lot of programs. Exactly. And they comfort each other. Even if we try to talk even about the lady, you try to talk about the biological clock, they have a lot of reasons to justify themselves for not being married, and the gents as well. They are so in a comfort zone where they've forgotten about the marriage. Totally.
Okay.
All right. My point, I think, is financial. Man, I love numbers.
Yeah.
If I want to start something, if I want to get into a relationship with someone, I look at the figures. Am I able to finance this relationship? That
Buy
I'm
ice
about?
cream and buy clothes, take it to the salon.
You can't substitute money from everything that you'll be doing.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So I look at the figures. Okay, fine. Myself, for example, I'm getting 1,000 a month. It's an example.
Oh, example. Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I can't able to take care of myself properly.
All right.
So how am I going to take care of the next
Another
person?
woman.
Yes.
Yes. There's no miracle in that formula. If you are failing to take care of yourself and then you bring another person, that's just trouble.
Okay, so we've got the reasons why we're not getting married is we're not ready spiritually. We're already getting the benefits, which means we need to get back to God and stop our bad habits, and financial
Resources.
the resources. Okay, the resources to actually take care of the next person. Okay, what are the reasons?
I just wanted to add a little bit on the resources part. You see, the scripture says that a man will leave what?
His parents' house.
His parents' house. And the lady is also leaving her parents' house.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in our society, in our present day society in Zim, it's not possible for me to go and stay at the lady's family. I don't know if there are some who are doing it, but it's very, very strange. But it's possible that a lady can come and stay at your place when you're staying with your family. But again, it has its challenges. So it's something that, as an individual, I've come to terms to say that if I'm going to when I will be marrying someone, I wouldn't be staying with the individual at my parents' house, because there are challenges that just comes when you are all clustered in one place.
So you have to find your own place. You should have your own place, whether you're renting or it's your place. You have to move out of your parents' house. That is what the Bible says. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got spirituality, our morals, finance. What else? What else do you have? Comfort zone. What else are we? Why aren't we getting married as youth?
I think it goes back to what you were saying. I just need to add more to his point, talking about finances. What is the average amount for Rora these days? What is the average
And can you
amount?
raise
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
Can you
that's
raise
the
it?
question. An average person, usually these days, they earn up to 150 USD.
Okay.
And many people.
And then you find out that a family is charging plus 25,000 for a person. Yeah, that's like you take
How
like 20
many
years
Okay.
to raise 25,000.
And also being a little bit, if we could be a little bit less selfish and not limit the idea of marriage to ourselves, because this is a joint venture. We might be saying, am I ready? But also have we considered that, is she also ready?
Is she also ready?
So that's something we need to take into consideration. I might be ready. Everything is there. The car is there. The house is there. The resources. But is she also ready?
So the beauty about this podcast, the ladies are actually going to have their own session where they're going to talk about why they are not ready for marriage and all that. But I'm glad we've raised the points on why we are not ready. Let's come to a conclusion and agree on why it's good for us to get married. Why? What's the benefits of marriage?
We are actually in fulfillment of what God said.
What God says.
Be fruitful and multiply.
And it's not good for a man to be
To be alone. because the Lord knows you can be doing something funny if you are by yourself. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was God who instituted this institution that we are talking about, marriage. And the Bible says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So I think there are blessings to marriage, which you will never get if you are not married.
you're not married.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's very important for us to marry, because God has made a promise. And
Oh yeah, and it actually says, you finds a good wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord.
So it's a good thing to get
Yes.
married. Craig, do you have any last words?
Yes,
on
Ephesians 5, starting from verse 24 to 27, will actually be preaching the gospel through marriage. Because
Wow.
as we look at the family structure, husband and the wife being submissive, the scripture says that wives be submissive to your husbands, just as the church is what? To Christ. So we actually go, if you find time, gents, read that portion of scripture. It actually shows you that we will be preaching the gospel out there for people to get to know that how the relation between Christ and the church, how Christ loves his church, and how he is willing to go to the extent his life here on earth was a direct testimony of his love for his church. And us as the husbands of tomorrow, our lives and how we will love our women should be a direct testimony to those that will be witnessing of the love of a marriage, of a family that is God-centered.
Interesting. We have been talking about why us as gentlemen are struggling to get married. We have talked about what marriage is. We have spoken about biblical references. We have also aired our views. These are just views on why we can't get married. But ultimately, it's a good thing to get married. It's also, according to the Bible, it's he who finds a good thing, a good woman, right? Finds a good thing, a good wife finds a good thing. And I would like to encourage myself and everyone who's watching this podcast to get married if you're not yet married, and get married to the right person, right? A man shall leave his house, a woman shall leave his house, and they become one flesh. This has been interesting. Please do keep tuning in to our podcast, and see you in the next episode.
If it's conservative,
If you're looking for something liberal,
realistic, this is the place to be.